Have you ever walked out of someone's home feeling worse than when you walked in? As we grow older, the way we spend our time, and who we spend it with, starts to matter even more. Time and energy are no longer limitless resources. They're precious, and every moment becomes more meaningful. That's why it's so important to choose our company with care. The reality is this: no matter how free your schedule might look in retirement, or how generous your spirit may be, not every visit is worth the toll it takes on your well-being. Some homes, and the energy within them, can leave you feeling heavier, not lighter. Less seen, not more connected. And that brings me to something I deeply believe: you deserve to be in spaces where you are valued, respected, and truly welcomed. I end this video. We're going to talk about 5 types of people whose homes you may want to reconsider visiting as you age. These aren't just tips for avoiding uncomfortable moments. Each one points to a kind of relationship that can slowly, quietly, wear away at your happiness, confidence, or peace of mind. Whether it's someone who always has a negative word to say, someone who drains your energy, or someone who never seems to respect your boundaries, protecting your emotional health starts with one simple but powerful decision: where you choose to go, and who you choose to give your time to. Stay with me until the end, because these insights might not only help you avoid unnecessary pain, they can guide you toward building a life surrounded by warmth, support, and joy. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating room for the right people to come in. 1. People who constantly criticize or belittle you. Let's begin with one of the most common and most harmful types of people to avoid: those who constantly criticize or belittle you. It doesn't always show up as outright cruelty. In fact, the most damaging forms of criticism often come disguised as jokes, teasing, or helpful advice. But over time, even small remarks can leave big wounds. You may start questioning your decisions, doubting your worth, feeling like nothing you do is quite good enough. This kind of dynamic is subtle, and it's exhausting. Maybe they mock your appearance, or they poke fun at your hobbies, your beliefs, or how you spend your time. Maybe it's your age, your routines, your health, anything. They can turn into a punchline. But even if they laugh while saying it, and even if they claim it's just a joke, you're left holding the weight of it. And the truth is, you don't have to carry that weight anymore. Let me share the story of my friend Barbara. She's 73, kind, thoughtful, and has a circle of friends she's known for decades. One of those friends, in particular, had a habit of making playful digs. Every time Barbara visited her home, she'd hear little jabs about her hairstyle, her cooking, the way she dressed, or even how she spent her afternoons. At first, Barbara brushed it off. But after every visit, she'd feel a little less confident, a little more unsettled. Eventually, she put the pieces together. The visits weren't leaving her feeling uplifted, they were chipping away at her. So she made a decision. She started to distance herself from that friend and chose to spend her time with people who made her feel supported and appreciated. The change was almost immediate. Barbara felt lighter, happier, more like herself again. And that's the thing: true friends don't make you feel smaller. They don't need to cut you down to feel taller. Real relationships are built on encouragement, kindness, and respect. And when you find yourself leaving someone's home feeling worse than when you walked in, take that as a sign. Your energy is too valuable to be spent in places that drain you. You have every right to step away from that dynamic. You're not being overly sensitive. You're being wise. 2. People who always ask for favors but never offer support in return. The second kind of person to be cautious around is the one who constantly asks for your help but is never around when you need something. You know the type. They'll call when they need a ride. Ask you to stop by and help fix something. Expect you to rearrange your schedule to accommodate their needs. And yet, when you need a hand, they're suddenly too busy. They forgot. Or they simply don't respond. At first, you may not notice it. You may even tell yourself you're happy to help. After all, being kind and generous is part of who you are. But generosity becomes a burden when it's one-sided. Over time, you may start feeling like you're being used, rather than appreciated. My friend Robert experienced this firsthand. At 76, he's still active and always eager to lend a hand. For years, he regularly visited a man named Jim, an old acquaintance who always seemed to need something done. Moving boxes. Fixing the garage door. Helping with yard work. Robert didn't mind at first. But over time, a pattern emerged. When Robert needed help, a ride to the doctor, assistance with his own home, Jim was always unavailable. Too busy. Too tired. Too caught up in things. That's when it hit Robert. He wasn't seen as a friend. He was seen as a convenience, and the more he thought about it, the more drained he felt after every visit. So he made a change. He stopped going over to Jim's place. And instead, he invested in friendships that were mutual, where help flowed in both directions, naturally and without scorekeeping. Because here's the truth, your kindness deserves to be met with kindness. You have every right to expect your generosity to be appreciated and reciprocated, especially as we grow older. Our time, energy, and emotional reserves become more precious. You should never feel guilty for protecting them. If a relationship leaves you feeling depleted or unimportant, it may be time to step back. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Healthy relationships are reciprocal. And the people in your life should make you feel like more than just a favor. Factory. Point 3. People who constantly bring negativity or drama. As we get older, our emotional landscape becomes more delicate and more valuable. That's why another type of home to be mindful of is one that's always clouded by negativity or emotional chaos. Some people seem to thrive on drama. Their conversations are filled with gossip, complaints, or stories about conflict. And every time you visit, you leave feeling emotionally drained, like you've just weathered a storm that wasn't even yours. It's not that we shouldn't support our friends during hard times. Of course, part of being close to someone is listening when they need to vent. But there's a difference between sharing a difficult moment and living in constant turmoil and expecting you to absorb it. Spending time in environments where negativity dominates the atmosphere can slowly wear down your spirit. You may find yourself more anxious, less hopeful, even physically tired just from the emotional weight of the visit. You deserve peace. You deserve conversations that lift you up, not ones that pull you into a whirlwind of frustration, complaint, or criticism of others. Ask yourself this: do I feel lighter or heavier after I leave their home? That answer tells you everything. Choosing to limit your exposure to this kind of energy isn't unkind, it's wise. Because your emotional space is not a dumping ground. It's a garden. And you have every right to protect what grows there. 4. People who don't respect your boundaries. Another kind of home that may no longer serve your well-being is one where your boundaries aren't acknowledged or respected. Maybe you've asked not to talk about a certain topic, and they bring it up anyway. Maybe you've said you're not comfortable staying too long, but they pressure you to stay. Or perhaps they make comments about your choices, how you spend your money, how you manage your health, who you spend time with, even after you've expressed discomfort. These situations may seem small on the surface. But over time, repeated boundary violations feel like tiny betrayals, constant reminders that your comfort doesn't matter in their space. Respect in a relationship means honoring someone's no without question or guilt-tripping. It means listening when someone says, "That doesn't work for me," and adjusting, not pushing. You don't need to justify your limits. You don't need to explain why something feels off. You just need to know that if someone truly values you, they will honor your boundaries without hesitation. Let me say this clearly, you are allowed to have boundaries. And the people who love you will not only respect them, they'll protect them. If visiting someone's home leaves you feeling like you have to shrink, tiptoe, or constantly defend yourself, it may be time to rethink those visits. Because peace of mind isn't just a luxury in later life, it's essential. 5. People who make you feel invisible or unheard. The last kind of home to reconsider visiting is one where you constantly feel overlooked, ignored, or unimportant. You show up, but no one really sees you. You speak, but your words don't seem to matter. The conversation might be dominated by someone else. Or maybe you're talked over, interrupted, or simply dismissed. Sometimes the silence can be louder than words when you're not even asked how you're doing or what's new in your life. Feeling invisible, especially in a room full of people, is one of the loneliest experiences in the world. And over time, it chips away at your sense of connection and self-worth. As we get older, the need to be truly seen and heard becomes more vital. Not for ego, but for dignity. For the simple affirmation that you matter. That your presence, your voice, and your story still hold value. You've lived through decades of experience. You have wisdom to share. Insight. Humor. Perspective. You deserve to be around people who want to hear it, who lean in when you speak, not away. If a home makes you feel like an afterthought instead of a welcomed guest, it's okay to step back. Not to make a scene, but to make space for people who actually see you. People who care. Because being in the right company doesn't just make you feel included, it makes you feel alive. Closing thoughts, your peace is worth protecting. Let's be clear, this isn't about cutting people off or living in isolation. It's about choosing with intention where to place your time, energy, and trust. Some homes are filled with warmth, laughter, and mutual care. Others, even if they once held meaning, may now bring stress, imbalance, or pain. And that's okay. Seasons change. Relationships shift. And you are allowed to evolve with them. There is nothing selfish about choosing peace. There is nothing rude about stepping away from places that leave you feeling small. This is your time, your chapter, and it's too important to waste in spaces that don't honor your presence. So take a breath. Reflect. And start making visits that fill your heart instead of emptying it. Your peace is priceless. Protect it fiercely. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. When certain homes leave you feeling used rather than appreciated, it may be time to take a gentle but honest look at the balance in those relationships. You don't need to make a dramatic exit or cause hurt feelings. Sometimes, the most powerful solution is to set gentle but firm boundaries. It's absolutely okay to say no when a favor feels too demanding. You can still be kind and considerate while suggesting another way for someone to get the help they need. Maybe they could ask someone else or find a professional service. You're not being selfish. You're being wise with your time and energy. Over time, setting these boundaries helps redefine the dynamics of the relationship. It creates space for healthier, more mutual connections to take root. And yes, at first, choosing not to visit homes where your generosity is repeatedly taken for granted can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've built your identity around being helpful, available, or dependable. But this choice, though difficult, is actually an act of deep self-care. It's a declaration that your kindness deserves to be respected, not exploited. You deserve to be appreciated for who you are, not just for what you can do for others. If this message is resonating with you right now, take a moment to comment a number 2 below so I know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful, helpful content designed to inform, uplift, and inspire you. Now let's move forward. 3. People who make you feel unwelcome or like a burden. Another important sign that it may be time to reconsider your visits is this: you consistently feel unwelcome or like an inconvenience. It's hard to believe that close friends or even family could make you feel that way, especially if you've shared years of love, laughter, and support. But the truth is, these shifts often happen subtly. A sigh when you walk in. A glance at the clock. A passive comment like, "I didn't expect company today," or "I've got so much to do." Maybe they don't offer you a seat. Maybe they rush through conversations like they've already moved on. Individually, these behaviors may seem small. But together, they send a clear message: you're not really welcome here. And over time, that message begins to take a toll. Take my friend Shirley, for example. She's 78, bright and loving, and she used to visit her younger sister Joan regularly. In the beginning, those visits were a joy, filled with laughter, shared memories, and sisterly closeness. But slowly, things began to change. Joan started seeming distracted, tired, preoccupied. She'd mention how busy she was or how much work she still had to do. At first, Shirley blamed herself. Maybe she was showing up at the wrong times. Maybe she was staying too long. So she began shortening her visits, hoping it would help. But that uncomfortable feeling never really went away. Eventually, Shirley took a step back and asked herself, "Why do I always leave feeling uneasy? Why does this once comforting home now feel so cold?" She made the brave choice to talk to Joan honestly about how she felt. To Shirley's surprise, Joan hadn't realized how her actions were affecting her, and after that conversation, their visits regained warmth and connection. But not every situation ends that way. Sometimes people are unaware, and open conversations lead to growth and healing. But other times, even after you've expressed your feelings, the coldness continues. The subtle rejection remains. And in those moments, it's essential to prioritize your self-worth. You are not a burden. You're not an interruption. You are a person who deserves to be welcomed, not merely tolerated. Especially in your later years, the spaces you enter should leave you feeling valued, not diminished. Let go of guilt. If someone consistently makes you feel like you don't belong, step back with grace. And step toward those who greet you with light in their eyes and warmth in their hearts. 4. People who gossip or spread rumors. Now let's talk about another kind of home that may quietly rob you of your peace. The home where gossip is a daily ritual. At first, it might seem harmless, a little neighborhood news, a juicy story, "Did you hear what happened?" whispered over coffee. But soon, you notice that most conversations revolve around other people's misfortunes, mistakes, or private lives. The environment becomes toxic, distrustful, negative. And even if you're just sitting quietly and listening, you leave feeling uneasy, wondering if, when you walk out the door, you'll become the next topic of discussion. That's exactly what happened to my friend Margaret, who is 71. For years, she visited a neighbor named Helen, who was always cheerful and welcoming. At first, Margaret enjoyed catching up. But gradually, she began to notice that every visit turned into a session of speculation and criticism about other neighbors, mutual friends, even family members. What once felt like friendly bonding started to feel uncomfortable, unkind. And every time Margaret left Helen's house, she felt uneasy, even guilty. She worried about what Helen might say about her when she wasn't around. She also started noticing how negative the conversations left her, feeling drained, suspicious, and just a little more bitter than before. Eventually, Margaret made a quiet, conscious decision to step back. To spend her time in spaces where conversations were uplifting, where people talked about books, family, travels, hobbies, not about who was doing what wrong. And with that choice came a noticeable shift in Margaret's own peace of mind. Because here's the truth, gossip is never harmless. Even passive exposure to it can erode your emotional balance. The negativity lingers. The judgment creeps in. And before long, you start second-guessing people or even yourself. Protecting your peace means avoiding homes where tearing others down is treated like entertainment. You don't need to confront it. You don't need to shame anyone. A gentle redirection or a graceful exit speaks volumes. Simply choosing not to engage or not to return is enough. And when you remove yourself from those spaces, you make room for deeper, more nourishing conversations. The kind that leave you feeling connected, inspired, and seen. Gently shifting toward peaceful connections, sometimes the most respectful thing you can do for yourself and others is to shift conversations toward more positive topics or reduce the frequency of visits that leave you feeling emotionally compromised. That's not avoidance, it's wisdom. Prioritizing relationships that promote kindness, positivity, and mutual respect is a powerful way to protect your emotional well-being. As you age, your peace of mind becomes even more valuable. And the way you spend your time has a direct and lasting impact on your quality of life. Genuine relationships are built on empathy, trust, and shared values, not on gossip, negativity, or superficial interactions. The people you surround yourself with should lift your spirit, not weigh it down. When you choose to invest your emotional energy in nurturing, respectful environments, the rewards are felt in every area of your life, your mood, your health, your sense of connection, and even your purpose. It's never too late to take a step back and reflect. If you find yourself feeling uneasy after visiting certain homes due to gossip, criticism, or any form of emotional discomfort, honor that feeling. It's trying to tell you something. You deserve relationships that leave you feeling refreshed, respected, and inspired. Choosing to visit homes where you're genuinely welcomed and valued is one of the most empowering acts of self-care you can make. It shapes a life full of joy, integrity, and connection. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that button, and don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss a new video. Your support means the world to us. Let's keep going. 5. People who dismiss your values or pressure you to compromise them. One of the most subtle, yet significant, signs that visiting someone's home may not be emotionally healthy is when your core values are routinely dismissed or undermined. As we age, our beliefs, principles, and values become more than just opinions, they become part of who we are. They've been shaped over decades of life experience, reflection, and growth. So when someone mocks, disregards, or pressures you to abandon those deeply held truths, it doesn't just feel offensive. It feels disrespectful to your identity. Sometimes it starts small. A sarcastic joke. A dismissive comment. A gentle push to engage in something that feels wrong or uncomfortable to you. You might brush it off, wanting to avoid conflict. But over time, these small moments stack up, leaving you feeling devalued and emotionally drained. I think of my friend John, now 74. For many years, he had a close bond with an old friend named Frank. They shared a long history, filled with good memories and mutual loyalty. But as they aged, their values and worldviews began to drift apart. Frank developed strong opinions John didn't share, and more than that, he often tried to persuade John to change, or join in on things John wasn't comfortable with. At first, John went along with it out of guilt or fear of hurting the friendship. But each time he left Frank's home, he felt worse. Unsettled. Frustrated. Like he'd betrayed himself just to keep the peace. Eventually, John found the courage to speak honestly. He explained how these visits were affecting him, and that he couldn't continue compromising who he was. While Frank's initial reaction was defensive, John knew he'd made the right decision. Over time, he began spending more time with people who respected his beliefs and honored his boundaries, and he found himself feeling lighter, more authentic, and more at peace. And that's the lesson: protecting your values isn't about judgment, it's about integrity. Choosing not to visit homes where your beliefs are constantly challenged isn't a sign of being closed-minded. It's a sign that you respect yourself enough to honor who you are. True friends don't need you to become someone else in order to feel comfortable. They accept you and love you as you are. And as you grow older, being in environments that support your authenticity becomes one of the most important ingredients for emotional health. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. It may be uncomfortable at first, especially in long-standing relationships. But real, lasting peace often comes from having the courage to say, "This is who I am. And I won't compromise that to keep a connection alive." Final thoughts: choosing peace and respect as you age. As we close this conversation, I invite you to take a quiet moment to reflect on the 5 types of homes we've discussed. Which one resonated with you most? Maybe you've experienced feeling undervalued, criticized, drained, or pressured. Maybe you've been wondering why certain relationships leave you feeling heavier than before. Or maybe you've simply realized it's time to make more intentional choices about who gets access to your time and emotional energy. This isn't about blaming others or withdrawing in bitterness. It's about awareness. It's about honoring the truth of your experiences and using that truth to shape a life of deeper meaning, connection, and peace. Your emotional health, your sense of dignity, your joy, they matter. And as you move through the later seasons of life, surrounding yourself with people who genuinely see, respect, and uplift you is no longer a luxury. It's essential. You deserve relationships rooted in kindness. Conversations filled with mutual care. Spaces that welcome you with warmth, not judgment. Every visit should leave you feeling like you matter, because you do. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If something in this video spoke to your heart, please leave a comment below and share what you learned or how you plan to apply it. Reading your reflections encourages us more than you know. And if you found this content meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support helps us continue creating videos that inform, inspire, and uplift. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you have the right to peace, respect, and joy every single day. Backhand index pointing right. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content to inform, uplift, and inspire. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.